Hello and welcome. Um, you know, uh, bless anyone who has cared enough to tune in to this. You know, there are a lot of teachings out there about metaphysics, and there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. Now, I understand, maybe I shouldn't have been so harsh on John St. Julian Baba Wayanama. His name, I'm not really sure what his exact name is, but maybe I shouldn't have been so harsh. I'm going to admit to you that he has definitely done great things that I have not done. He has helped many people. He has, went up against, many things. But see, what you have to understand, and I know this is very, very difficult for many to understand, is that Christians have done many of the same type of, going up against evil. Many people that have believed many different kinds of religions and many different types of things have went up against evil before. And this is not something unique to him. But what I would like to say is that when it comes to this speak about ego, this is probably one of the most dangerous weapons the enemy has. Because anything that doesn't fall within the philosophy of a certain figure, they will unfortunately say it's ego. And unfortunately, if you raise your voice even a little, or if you say things in a way that, rocks the boat, people will call you a fanatic and they will say that, what you do is of the devil. Now, what I would like to say is that my channel is not very popular. I only have 1,000 subscribers, and when I speak the way I do, maybe I shouldn't speak the way I do, but it feels like, like I'm not really getting heard all that much anyway. It feels like I'm mainly preaching to the choir, and if people are starting to notice what I'm saying more, maybe I do need to speak with more compassion, more understanding. But what people really need to understand the difference between is love and compassion. It is true that, you got to be compassionate. But what a lot of people don't understand about the preservative what is it? I forget exactly what it's called. It's called it's called love. It's the preservative energy of love. It works to preserve things for its allotted time on this earth until it's transmuted into a higher form. That's what love does. That's what love is meant to do. And see, people like John St. Julian, the thing about what he says is that the thing that's so scary about it is that he talks this, this stuff that no, spiritual master promotes. It's there's a lot of new agey stuff going on here. And, it's not that, there's anything wrong with believing in aliens or necessarily that there's anything wrong with believing in planetary systems. I believe what Dr. George King said about that stuff. And, before you consider him a wingnut, actually listen to some of the things that he says. Some of those things he says about the conservative, yoga, and how a lot of these things really work. He talks about positive and negative trances. He talks about how, it can take many, many years, lifetimes even, in some people's cases, for people to achieve a positive trance. Depending on how serious you are about it. Many people will say this is ego. Many people will wrongly and unfortunately say this is ego. There was one comment that made fun of, how I look, unfortunately. I'm not going to say what his name is. I'm going to talk about a comment that I got, that this one guy sent that, really just shows you some of the unfortunate, situations about how, these people see anything that, disagrees with them. And here it is. It says, it's talking to me. It says, I'm not judging you. I'm just poking a little fun at you. That's not the part that bothered me. It says, you're projecting with your comments. Now, I gotta let people understand, I am not projecting. This is not me. This is coming from a higher authority. Okay? You have to be asking these questions. John St. Julian, he talks about how this what is it he says? He talks about this ego stuff. He talks about, projection and whatnot. He talks about, here's what he talks about. He talks about this, about language. He talks about how some weird thing like you gotta not think using language, and you gotta not identify as anything, and you gotta be I don't know exactly how he says it. He says that you have to, detach from all worldly identities and, being in the present moment and thinking, meditating based on, things being present or whatever it is he says. But you got to think, what other master says that? There's many masters who have meditated in a conservative way even, for many, many, many years. And, when you go to Paramahansa Yogananda, when you go to Self-Realization Fellowship, does he talk like this? Does Dr. George King, who is presumably New Age, does he talk like this? When you go to Swami Vivekananda, does he talk like this? No. See, you have to understand, we are connected to God. There is a realization, there is sort of a surrendering that has to occur in order to, be enlightened, and enter these higher states. But this guy acts like culture is the problem. And that's very, very unfortunate that he says things like this. And he says, this comment here talking about my projections, which are non-existent. It's actually your own understanding of things that is watered down, not John's. Come on, man. Really? Look, I care about you, but are you serious right now? you're trying to place a lack of understanding on your part onto someone else who, to seem like you're more and have experienced more than, and you know you haven't. No, I say what I've experienced, and what I haven't experienced, I have enough humility to realize that I haven't experienced it. By you doing it, it feeds your ego. Okay. You do realize your ego is like the puppet. It's what you live in. It's kind of, there's this false understanding that having an ego means you're not spiritual. There's this false understanding that ego is somehow, that you can't realize that you're actually the consciousness while still living in the ego. You absolutely do. It's not even something you can do or something you can't do. It's something you do. It's the nature of these things. Right, talking about how it feeds my ego temporarily. I don't rejoice in any temporary pleasure, so I'm not sure what that means. Now go do some breath work and then meditate, and he's talking this type of stuff, and these people talk this stuff as if it's my ego saying this, and you have to understand. This is thousands and thousands and thousands, and actually even millions of years of knowledge that has existed in these temples, that has existed in, these people deal with enough people to know when someone is in a positive yogic trance, okay? And if you're not in a positive yogic trance, you can't speak as though you're seeing that, you're experiencing these higher states of awareness, and you're contacting Jesus and contacting Mother, Father, Creator, and all this type of stuff. It's unfortunate that people consider me incompassionate, without, like I have no compassion when I say these things. And yet it's because of passion and anything but because of ego that I do say them. You see what I'm saying? It's not unheard of that people have had contact with Jesus, but all these people, they're rising above the subconscious into the superconscious. They're not going into the subconscious. They're rising above the conscious into the superconscious. Most people, when they meditate, they're closing their eyes, and it says, take no thought or whatever. In some sense, that is true. But there is a deep form of concentrative effort. It's not like, it isn't like you're in like a sleep state, It's very difficult to get people to understand this type of stuff because it's alien to the Western world, and the occult circles in the West are filled with this type of ooey gooey stuff that has no basis, I'm sorry, in metaphysics. I'm sorry if that offends somebody, but it's true. This is not my projection. This is true.